first thing is today was Alumni Day, and I spoke with several former players, and the thing I have most pride in is that all of them are super encouraging. All of them watch every game, and all of them see the improvement in our team. I wanted to welcome them home with a win, and we just aren't there yet. We're really close. And, listen, I love those kids, and, God bless them. So many of them, this is their first close game they've played. First close game we've played. In probably since Campbell, I guess, right? Like, when was the last close game? Campbell. So, and we had specific things put in for close games, but again, just like anything else, there becomes game slippage. And we try and run some things, and obviously Youngstown, playing, not playing, only being here for a couple weeks, it limits some of the things that you want to do. But they fought, and they fought hard, and that's a good, tough team that's connected, that's played a lot of basketball together, that's played in that same system. They can call things and get right to them. And, it's the same thing. We talked for the game, defend, rebound, value the ball, believe. Defend, rebound, value the ball, believe. Defend, rebound, value the ball, believe. And 16 turnovers, 13 offensive boards. And I think they all believed, but it's really hard when you haven't done it. It's just hard. But for those alumni, I get it, man. I don't want to go back to my alma mater when they're struggling, but them showing up, them showing support, them watching all these games means everything, because this is their program, and they know that Coach Bennett, who reminded me this week that he only won 5 his first year, and I said, Coach, I'm just trying to get to 3, that there is more than incremental improvement. There's jumps there, and we still have a long way to go, but it was a lot better. And then the last thing is, and this is most important, none of this is ever about me, but I know that sometimes local and national media, and especially social media, wants to make every loss about me. And, I took a moment after the game to remember, Lee Ranke's our golf coach, and he's fighting cancer. And I encourage anybody who hears this message to donate to his GoFundMe, because this is what it's really about. And we're really going to be a family. We really got to support things that matter. And a guy who's as well respected and brings such kind of joy to our office every day, to not recognize that that's what's really important. Don't get me wrong. With all of my heart, with all of my soul, I want to win today's basketball game for all those alumni and for those kids. But at the end of the day, it's just a kid's game. Lee Ranke's fighting cancer. That's what's more important. So, anything you guys want to ask?
You hear a lot about learning how to win. It felt like today this was a step for you guys, leading for 32 minutes but not being able to close it out. Just how important is it to be in those close games, like you said?
It's the hardest thing to teach. Hardest thing to teach. And, I thought Jeremiah had some moments of greatness today. Reading ball screens, attacking. He's obviously a tremendous rebounder. And I'm not saying this to be a jerk towards anything that preceded this, but that's the first real college basketball league game he's ever played in, ever. And teaching somebody how to win is the hardest thing in coaching. And we talked yesterday about the Detroit Lions, who then turned around and lost. But I use them as a reference point, and I'm a Charger fan as well as a Packer fan. Forever, Chargering or the Detroit Lions, how many times they come on, you're like, I don't care what the score is, they're going to find a way to lose this game, right? And I said, well, how did they get over it? And they got over it with the mentality that Dan Campbell shared at his press conference, and people made fun of it. That you're gonna shoot us twice, and we're gonna get up, and we're gonna bite off your kneecap, and you shoot us the third time, we're gonna bite your next kneecap, but that's it. And you have to go through it. You have to, they have to Feel the pain before you taste the champagne. And this one really, really hurts because, Jordan did a great job on the scouting report. We poured every ounce of what we have into these kids. And, we had great practices Tuesday and Thursday, knowing it's 3 and 6 days, knowing there are 3 great opportunities to turn this thing around. And we just have to figure a way. And it's not any one thing. Obviously, you look at the rebounds and the turnovers, but okay, we had 2 turnovers against the press, right? And as a former point guard and like the human press breaker, that it infuriates me. We've practiced against it, but we have to have, it's just a little bit more confidence, right? We have Marcus Hall handling the ball as like a point forward, and he does a great job, but he's never done that before, right? He's never handled the ball this much. So he's got to see those live reps. Jeremiah has to see the change in their ball screen coverage late in the game to understand what was open, what wasn't open. Rudy's played a lot of basketball, but at the end of the game, he has to get the ball and he has to break pressure. If he wants to be the point guard, he has to get us into our stuff. Jonathan does such a good job, but him getting into early foul trouble in the second half kind of changed us up and not necessarily for the better. We recovered and we were still up 10. So it's all of those little things that they have to learn. And, today was a step and a bunch of lessons. And even for me, the possession we turned it over when we called a timeout, I had a play in, but I had an inbounds to get it into a play. And honestly, we probably didn't even need to call a timeout, right? We practiced for those situations. And in hindsight, a timeout allows them to set their defense and understand what you're running. Whereas if we run our quick action, something we practice. We know close games are coming. So we've actually practiced close game scenarios, just 5 plays to have, and make sure you know where to get to and know where those sets are coming. But we're just not there in closing the deal yet. Can't turn the ball over late. Can't give up offensive rebounds, layups late. Have to convert when we have those conversions. But I have great pride in those kids because all of those alums saw a team that has every right to shut it down and worry about next year, and all those kids are focused on is winning the next game.
Do you primarily attribute the late game turnovers to inexperience?
Inexperience across the board. It's inexperienced coaching, inexperienced playing, and they're good. They know who they are. So I think some of it is inexperience on the court, some of it is inexperience on the sideline. Some of it is the other team is good and focused and older, and they've played these high-level competitive games more often. And, some of it is we have to adjust and evolve to the officiating. There's a couple calls there that were 50-50 calls and we didn't get. I didn't think today was bad. I thought Friday was not fair. It's all of those things. Like let's give Youngstown State credit, right? They're, look, think of the mentality of a 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old. You lose to UWM. You come up here, you see a team, they got a 0 by their conference record, they lost 14 in a row, and no matter what a coach says about, hey, they can get you, you're like, all right, right? And then all of a sudden they're in a ball game, right? And our kids were playing really, really hard. So you got to give them a substantial amount of credit, right? He's a first-year head coach. I know he's been with them on Coach Calhoun's staff previously, but they did a lot of really good things. So let's not just make it that our guys aren't experienced and their guys are. They found ways to win the game when, we know they're a volume three-point shooting team. And if you look, the worst thing we do defensively outside of rebound the basketball is defend the three-point line. And they didn't make shots today, and yet they still won the game, right? There's a million ways to win the basketball game. And if you look at the raw data of our shooting, 49% field goal, 46 from 3, 83 from the line. That wins you 95% of the games. But they found a way to turn us over 16 times, and they got 13 offensive rebounds. So they got, let's see here, that's my math, 22 more shot attempts than we did. This is hard. So, yes, we're inexperienced. Yes, I'm an inexperienced coach. That's our first close game. But Youngstown State's a good team. They won a lot of games in this league for a reason, and those reasons, they figured out a way, right? They couldn't play the big kid, so they brought in Kirkland, who was barely on the scouting report, and he only played 4 minutes, but they didn't lose any momentum there, right? He actually gave him some good minutes and just solidified them to where they could go back to their starters. So I thought they did a lot of good things as well, and you have to give them credit for finding a way to win a game when they didn't shoot the basketball well.
Talk about experience. Levy finally, probably playing his best game, but still with the foul trouble. As you kind of trying to see is today kind of what you're expecting from him besides obviously the foul trouble, just kind of what he can provide you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's a better passer than the 4 turnovers. He's still not in ideal shape, and we had kind of it's a cognitive choice there, right? Like, do you run him early in the week to get him in shape for later in the week, or do you back off the pedal? And we backed off the pedal. But then he hurt his hip flexor, I think it was Tuesday lifting weights, so he barely practiced, So you're barely practicing, he's a little tired, and they got great athletes, and it was a great game plan, right? Coming out of the shoot, and let's go right at him in the second half, and got him 2 quick fouls, and it changed our rotation substantially. So some of that is him, some of that is coaching and figuring that out. Like, kind of knew they were coming after him, but we didn't have anybody we could hide him on. And then some of that is he's got to get into better shape and to understand the officiating here is different. It's different game to game, but it's different in college than it is otherwise. I thought for the most part our guys did a great job. We've been big on setting the tone physically and playing with our bodies, not our hands. And again, that's where it gets confusing to me because that's how everybody plays. I do think that it was generally even. I thought the whistles were a little tight on some of those drives, but again, that's where you talk about experience. Like, every game is different. Every crew officiates every game different. And you have to know that and feel that and understand that. And when you're sitting there, you come out of the game, instead of just grabbing water and thinking about how can I score, you got to think about, okay, how are they guarding ball screens right now? What's their lineup that's in? How are they calling this game? Because they call it really tight in and around the basket. So, like, Marcus had a late turnover, he got a post up, and they quick doubled him. And my thing to Marcus was, just go up. They're calling every foul when they go underneath, So, yeah, I mean, Yonatan's going to be really good. He's an excellent, excellent passer. I'll obviously take the 3 made threes. He can shoot. I don't know if he's that good a shooter, but Marcus Hall's a better shooter than the 3 that he missed. We got him a couple really good looks. So, again, we're figuring it out, and we're like a different team every time because I don't know who's playing. But it was, look, we've said all year it's a marathon, not a sprint. In this league, 3 games in Indy are all really that matter. But we can't think we're going to win 3 games in Indy until we find a way to win 1. So we didn't complete the task today. We probably had about 32 minutes of being a really good basketball team. Friday there was 12 minutes of greatness, probably 10 minutes of okay, and then I don't even want to dig up a word that you won't be able to run on the news on what I think of the rest of it. But the world can beat you up, the losses can beat you up, but part of the thing with having so much youth is like they don't know. So, but they also don't know what it's like to win. And I can remember when we beat SIUE here, and I was just like, God, this feels so good. But it's so, even that one, it was like a 25-point win, was so hard. So we're close. But horseshoes and hand grenades, right? Doesn't count. So, but anyway, I'm sorry, going back to the Yonatan question. Yeah, man, he's going to be good. He's going to be really good. And we just got to find ways which he can stay out of foul trouble, get him in better condition, and keep finding ways to get his positives. And even the last play where he miscommunicated with Jeremiah, that's just inexperience of them playing together. He short rolled instead of picked and popped. And Jeremiah's point was like, you just hit 3 threes. I thought you were going to pop. And his point was the correct read was the short roll, which it was, but it's like, you can talk to each other on the court, even on offense. So that's what's missing. And, I blame myself. Like, I have 2 or 3 end-of-game plays, and I probably should have gone to them. Instead, we tried to go to a different look because we liked JJ coming off of those ball screens so much in the second half. He's just such an outstanding athlete and downhill finisher. But, again, you live and learn. You know, I'm watching Ben Johnson last night call that trick play and throw an interception. And I just, you know, everybody obviously is killing him, you know, and you're just sitting there going like, that's me, an inexperienced coach, young coach, and it looks really good when you draw it up, and it looks really good in practice. You're like, okay, well, now's the time. And some of them worked, and some of them didn't.
Earlier you were saying how valuable having the alumni support is. What's your message to fans for why they should still support a team that's now lost the team?
Well, a couple things. First thing is, I looked, and I don't know after today because we had 1,600, but we're 3rd in attendance in the league. That's outstanding, right? That's outstanding. My message is we're close. And if you can show up and help us be a difference maker on Wednesday, I'd really appreciate it. You know, I really appreciate it. This town's been very, very good to me personally. When my kids have come up and visited, they've loved it. The players all really enjoy the community. And I know we have, you know, they went to an elementary school on Tuesday, I think. Tuesday or Wednesday? They went to an elementary school, and I got like 4 notes on like, you have the best kids. So whatever you think of me, I'm not going to try and change your mind, but I can tell you that those guys deserve every ounce of support. It's not for lack of effort. It's not for lack of passion, and it's not for lack of pride in Green Bay, the Fox Valley, and the school. So it does really, really make a difference. It does really help. And so what's the message? Like, can you imagine how good that's going to feel when we win Wednesday night? Can you imagine that? You know? And we can't get caught up in score watching, and like IU Indy, they beat us before by like 9. They want to beat us again, no doubt. But the message to anybody within the sound of my voice, I know there's a lot of good high school games out there. It's going to be really, really cold. I get it. But man, can we use you? Just come and yell and scream, and you come to see a good basketball game, right? That was like my point when somebody took the nobody you thing and completely misrepresented it. Was I understand there's other things to do. I understand that most people don't live in the Titletown district. I know what it's like. I got to get in my car and get through the cold, you know, warm that sucker up and get here. Like, I get it. I respect it. So the one thing I will tell you, and I would challenge anybody to tell me I'm wrong, that was a good basketball game. You know, it's a good basketball game. And I think prices are reasonable, and the beer's cold. It's warm inside. So come see a great basketball game. If you want to throw on something green, that doesn't hurt. Yell with all your might and cheer for these kids, because we're really close. But we can't get there by ourselves. And it does. Look, truth be told, I don't like losing this many games in a row, but it does show how incredible the support here is at Green Bay. It does show the real people who said, and I joked about it with our booster stuff. I was like, hey, I'm everybody's favorite guy now because I hadn't lost a game. Oh, now we lost 15 in a row. Now let's find out who your real friends are, who really believes in the process. But if anybody, I mean, practices are relatively open. If you guys want to come watch, come watch. I mean it. You know, give us a little heads up. The point is, those kids are putting in the work. Those kids have been through a lot. Those kids all believe that we're a good basketball team. And for about 32, 34 minutes today, we really were a good basketball team. But we just have to learn to play 40 minutes and play with confidence. And it's hard. I know it's hard. But we're going to get one. And when we do, the feeling will be unlike any other win we've ever had.